Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for August 6th. August 6th is the 218th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 219th in leap years, with 147 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is Dunning-Kruger effect. More of a phrase, actually, but Dunning-Kruger effect is the name given to a particular form of cognitive bias in which a person overestimates their abilities. Such a person thinks they're competent in a particular area or at a particular job, but objective performance assessment indicates otherwise. It's the tendency of people with low ability in a specific area to give positive assessments of their ability. Dunning-Kruger effect is often erroneously used to describe people with low intelligence, as if to say that stupid people are too stupid to know they're stupid. I've certainly heard the term used that way, but the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't about intelligence. It's about specific overconfidence of people whose performance doesn't bear out in their claims. That said, some theorists also apply discussion of the Dunning-Kruger effect to the reverse situation, where people of high ability underestimate their abilities relative to the abilities of others. But that's a whole nother thing. For today, we're just going to stick to the original idea that some folks overestimate their ability versus their actual objective performance. Now, how or why does this happen? Well, part of acquiring a skill consists in learning to distinguish between good and bad performances of that skill. It seems that people of low skill level are unable to properly assess their performance because they've not yet acquired the discriminatory ability to do so. This leads them to believe that they're better than they actually are because they do not see the qualitative difference between their performance and that of others. In this regard, they lack the metacognitive ability to recognize their incompetence. There's an amusing quote by one of the researchers after whom this phenomenon was named, David Dunning. He said, "Not knowing the scope of your own ignorance is part of the human condition. The problem with it is we see it in other people, but we don't see it in ourselves." The first rule of Dunning-Kruger Club is you don't know you're a member of Dunning-Kruger Club. Charles Darwin observed a similar phenomenon back in the 1870s when he wrote, "Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. It is those who know little, and not those who know much, who so positively assert that this or that problem will never be solved by science." So, while the phenomenon has been around for probably as long as humanity itself, first known use of the term Dunning-Kruger effect is in 1999 when they published their paper. Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect was suggested by Odyssey viewer Easy9. Thanks, Easy9. And if you have a word you'd like to see in this Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments. We'll take a look at it. And with that, Bogota, Colombia was founded on August 6, 1538. Originally known as Santa Fe de Bogota, which means Holy Faith of Bogota, the city is centrally located within Colombia atop a high plateau and is the capital of Colombia, Bogota. This is the birthday of one Arthur Simon Fliegenheimer, only we know him better as the American mobster known as Dutch Schultz, born August 6, 1902. Based in New York City, he made most of his ill-gotten fortunes in bootlegging and illegal gambling. He got tangled up in a prosecution for tax evasion, which slowed him down a bit. Gangstering is a tough business, and it isn't usually composed of the calmest, most reasonable people you could ever hope to meet, and he got sideways with some of his rivals. He wanted to get rid of one of them, but apparently there's a hierarchy in organized crime, and he was denied permission to off his opponent. He tried it anyway, which then angered the mob bosses, so they ordered his execution, and they did him in 1935 at the age of 33. On August 6, 1930, a New York Supreme Court justice named Joseph Forrest Crater vanished from the streets of Manhattan near Times Square. The dapper 41-year-old's disappearance launched a massive investigation that captivated the nation and earned him the title of the missingest man in New York, which turns out to be an interesting and gossipy story. It seems that Judge Crater had developed something of a shady reputation due to his being a judge and a married man with a fondness for showgirls. Earlier in the month, he'd been on a trip to Maine and left his wife there while he returned to New York, promising that he'd be back in a few days. On the morning of August the 6th, he destroyed some documents in his office and moved several portfolios of paper to his apartment, and then arranged to withdraw $5,000 from his bank account, which would be close to $100,000 in today's dollars. That's a lot of cash. That evening, he met some friends for dinner, and after dinner was presumably on his way to attend a Broadway play, but he was never seen again. His unusual behavior leading up to his disappearance led many to surmise that he may have run off with a mistress, maybe one of those showgirls. He might have left the country or been a victim of foul play. His utter and complete disappearance was so sensational that the phrase "pulling a crater" entered the lexicon of the day as a synonym for going AWOL. Comedians had a field day with it as well, since no trace of him ever turned up. His wife had him declared dead in 1939. We might say he was the Jimmy Hoffa of his day, just disappeared. Interestingly, in 2005, a woman died, and in her personal effects was found a handwritten note saying that her husband and several other men, including a police officer, had murdered Crater and buried his body under a section of the Coney Island boardwalk. That area has since been further developed, so no trace remains of Judge Crater. On August 6, 1945, Japan was devastated when the atomic bomb called Little Boy was dropped by the United States B-29 Enola Gay. Around 70,000 people were killed instantly, and some tens of thousands died in the subsequent days, weeks, and years from burns and radiation poisoning. Now, we have a playlist of episodes for this day in history, as well as a playlist of single subjects called How About That? And words of the day in a playlist called There's a Word for That, and I'll leave links to those playlists for you. Today's song is Nowhere to Run by Martha and the Vandellas. This is another great song written and produced by the Holland Dozier Holland team. Martha and the Vandellas recorded it in October of 1964, released it in February of 1965, and it was included on Martha and the Vandellas' third album, Dance Party. If you're of a certain age, you're bound to have heard it on the radio, but I've included a link in case you aren't familiar with it or would like to hear it again. Nowhere to Run has been covered by several other artists as well. Nowhere to Run by Martha and the Vandellas. Link in the description. All right. Not much in the way of outtakes today. I read it pretty clean this time. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.